again. Ross Remington back once more, sharing simple messages of adventure linked with faith on a segment we call Living in the Moment. Real life stories from our many years of missionary service in Asia. Before we moved to China, I served in Thailand for 11 years. At the beginning of my second term, I was asked to look after a church in Pattaya for a few months as the interim pastor. Since then, I've learned that there is nothing more permanent than a temporary position. 18 months later, I was still there. Our family was living in Bangkok and I would drive down to Pattaya each weekend. It took 2 hours to get there and 4 hours on the way back, and I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the traffic. We would stay at the church building where there were no beds, so we slept on mattresses on the floor. No Western toilets, just squatty potties. Our sons didn't mind, they thought it was normal. That's what happens when you're raised on the mission field. One weekend, while we were at Pattaya, our sons Ryan and Jesse were playing in the church courtyard. There was a construction site opposite the church and it was raining, so there were no workers on the site. Unknown to us, the boys decided to check out the construction site, probably to see what they could learn about the building industry, architecture and workplace health and safety regulations. Or possibly they just wanted to see what mischief they could get up to. But I doubt it, because they're just like their dad. While running around the site, Jesse tripped and grabbed hold of a metal post that was being used to suspend electrical wires. The post was wet from the rain and an electrical current was running through it. Electricity began running through his body and he couldn't disconnect his hand. Jesse was being electrocuted. Quick thinking Ryan grabbed Jesse by the shirt and pulled him off. Thank the Lord they were both okay, just a little shaken up, as were his mum and dad. The following week, the Australian Embassy in Bangkok issued a warning to all Australian citizens living in Thailand. This was during the First Gulf War, and there were several terrorist cells operating in Bangkok. A number of foreigners had been stabbed in the streets, so the embassy advised all Australians to stay indoors as much as possible. Ryan and Jesse loved to go skateboarding along the Bangkok streets, and they weren't too happy when I told them that they had to stay indoors. I told them that they had to be careful because there were terrorists in Bangkok. Jesse explained, "I'm not afraid of any tourists." Sometimes I think that tourists are more dangerous than terrorists. Well, the terrorists and the tourists didn't bother Jesse, but soon after he was bitten in the head by a dog and attacked by a gibbon. Thankfully, he survived both incidents. Our family never actively sought out danger like a bunch of adrenaline junkies, but sometimes on the mission field, it seeks you out. If you are a germaphobe or overly protective of your children, then the mission field could be a very frustrating place. Psalm 84 verse 5 says, "Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage." Hunter Thompson says, "Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, 'Wow, what a ride!'"